here at the studio. I'm honored to be here with my favorite person in the whole wide world, and that is my wife, Dr. Sheila E. Lee. She's going to be sharing with us some information on self care, some things she's done. She'll share with you in her dissertation and information I believe that that God has used her to write a profound discourse on how to take care of yourself in the midst of helping others. And so I'm gonna let her do that in her own way. But just want to let you all know again, you're listening to us here at Awesome Radio Networks. You can catch us at WECU 1570 AM and 107.5 FM here in Winterville and Greenville, North Carolina. And then you can catch us at WNOS 1450 AM and 102.3 FM in New Bern. And of course, you can check out the radio station, Awesome Radio Network, on all of the social media platform, and we're live on Facebook as well. So, if you can't catch us live in the immediacy, you can go back later on and check out the show. But we're so grateful again for you joining us. And I just want to say good morning, Dr. Lee. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I want to open it up, and so you can go ahead and just kind of share with us what God has put in your heart for our people, because this is the last day of Mental Health Awareness Month, and I asked her to come on because I wanted her from a clinical perspective and from a mental health perspective to kind of shed some light for those of us who are indeed in the trenches helping those who are suffering with this with mental health issues. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to briefly talk about the importance of self-care. This again is May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and attending to your own wellness and health is so important for individuals to understand the importance of self-care. So I just want to briefly share some foundational information about self-care and what it is and its implications for our total well-being. So holistic self-care is multifaceted. It is the practice of attending to all aspects of one's well-being, and that encompass our physical self, our social self, our emotional self, our spiritual self, professional and personal, and our relationships we have with others. So it is multifaceted, multidimensional, and it is a lifestyle. It is not like a checklist of activities. It is not a one-size-fits-all plan. It is a personalized lifestyle that should align with the individual's values, interests, and your life circumstances. So it is the importance of self-care and integrating self-care in your life. It optimizes your health, and it enhances your overall well-being and aids to your personal growth and development through activities. And some examples, again, it is not one size fits all, but it is uniquely specific to you, your values. And so examples of this is like eating nutritious meals, engaging in regular physical activities, incorporating stress management techniques like being relaxed, things that calm you and things that relax you, maintain healthy interpersonal relationships, and being involved with positive aspects of your community. All of these are intentional dimensions of self-care and wellness that can be applied to each person individually. And it should be a regular part of your routine, not just something you do on the weekend, but like every day, throughout the day, people should integrate wellness activities in their life. And it really overall helps you with your mental health, your growth and development, and it also adds years to your life. The happier you are, the more positive experience you engage in, adds a decade of to your lifespan. And so I just want to talk about some different elements of the multifaceted component of self-care. So for physical self-care, these are things that are nurturing to your body. It promotes physical health and wellness, and that could involve basically attending to your physical needs, like attending your routine health checkups with your doctor. If you're not feeling well, that means taking the time and initiative to make an appointment to see your healthcare provider. It could also mean engaging in activities that you find enjoyable. Some people like to swim, some people like to hike, walk, play golf, dance. Whatever it is that you like to do that increase your physical health and well-being, I encourage you to integrate some of those physical self-care activities into your daily life. And it also lowers the risk of heart disease, diabetes. There are plenty of health benefits if individuals take the time to engage in some type of physical activity or exercise that's uniquely enjoyable to you. And I know you love to play golf.
Absolutely.
And so people can integrate whatever is uniquely satisfying to you as far as your physical activity and routine. Now I want to talk about emotional self-care. This self-care targets your emotional response and your emotional reactivity. Engaging in positive self-talk, positive thinking, humor, spending time with people you enjoy, talking with friends, meditating, being mindful of the things that you do, mindful of the things that cause stress, mindful of the things that cause a negative reaction. This is all integrated in your emotional self-care. So to prevent negative interactions, you want to and to counteract adverse emotional thinking, cognitive thinking. I encourage people to pursue hobbies that will allow you to have a reframe of your thinking. That could involve writing, taking time to journal, putting your thoughts on paper, participating in things that are calming to your mind, that you have positive reflections on the day, reading, engaging in literacy, exploring different books, things that engage your emotions and your thinking and your cognitions. Those are emotional self-care activities and strategies. Anything that brings you relaxation, calm, and rejuvenation.
You mind if I interject here?
Yes.
I want to just add something that you said earlier that was very powerful as it relates to being intentional about self-care. I thought about how oftentimes people will wait until they're totally stressed out. I mean, on the edge where agitation has increased, the temperament is changing, and then they get short with people because they're frustrated because of the constant weight of day-to-day and grinding. And then when they do take a vacation, the vacation becomes a job because now they got a plan. They get to the vacation, and it's hard to de-stress. And now instead of taking that time to relax, that time is used pretty much just to manage all of those emotions. Then after that week or whatever, you jump right back into the grind and never having really released. And so to your point, I think it's important for us to do that on a daily basis, weekly basis, even while we're in the middle of the grind, so that when we do have time to vacation or to take a respite, it's more of a refresher than a management piece. So I think that was very powerful.
Added layer.
Exactly.
And that happens when a lot of people experience that. They look forward to a vacation, time away, and then after that vacation,
You're exhausted.
yeah, it's like I need another vacation,
Yeah.
because they haven't incorporated self-care activities as a lifestyle.
That's good. That's
Just
powerful.
thinking of self-care as just a sporadic a vacation. No, it should be things that you enjoy that brings you rest and relaxation on a daily basis.
I know you want me to ask the question, but I got to say this. So, what happens to someone who does too much? Because some people take self care to a whole another level, and they overextend themselves doing too much self caring, that they don't get to work, don't get to business, right? So I think that there needs to be a balance. I think we need to understand that, playing too much golf, taking too much time relaxing, because sometimes we can be in a depressive state, and that is the way that we think that we can get out of it. And then now we start neglecting our responsibility. So be careful not to do too much of it.
Right. Self-care doesn't replace mental health.
That's exactly
It
right.
doesn't replace professional help. It doesn't replace the need for added layers of wellness. Self-care is something that you have control of, that you can interject in addition to going to see a therapist, in addition to reaching out for professional help and resources. This is just part of your overall wellness and well-being, things that we can do on a daily
That's good.
basis.
That's good.
Okay. And sometimes when people overindulge in activities that don't benefit their wellness, it's not really self-care. It could be something that they're addicted to. They spend too much time. Self-care really adds and increase your overall wellness and your well-being. It should build your confidence. It should add to your personal growth and development. If it takes away, if any element of stress is involved, if any adverse reaction is involved, it's not self-care.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about relational self-care. We can involve ourselves, and we have relationships with family members, our neighbors, our coworkers, our professional supervisors. But relational self-care is really being intentional in having those relationships that add to your overall health. Positive relationships, positive encounters, positive experiences that aids to your growth and development. It adds to your sense of wellness and well-being. We want to eliminate and reduce experiences that compound stress and negativity. So I encourage you to take a reflection of all those relationships that you are involved with, and if it doesn't add to your growth, development, and overall health, you want to reduce those relationships. You want to pull back on those encounters and those exchanges that take away from you, that add stress to your life. So being intentional about the people you associate with, those people you spend time with, you want to increase spending time with people who bring you joy, who bring you peace, who build
Do I bring you joy and do I bring you peace, baby?
Of course.
All right. Just wanted to throw that in there, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it is important to realize the people you associate with, that adds to your self-care as far as your relationship in the community that you're associated with. And I also briefly want to talk about your spiritual and religious self-care. Okay. So having an intention of tapping into your inner soul and your inner spirit and doing things that bring purpose and meaning to your life is important. This is also a multifaceted approach that could involve practices of prayer, meditation, being mindful, and being involved with your local church, being involved with your church family, spending time with those people that you love and that you worship and serve God together with. That is crucial. That is another aspect that people don't realize, that your spirit also needs development, growth. And so tapping more into your spiritual self-care, I think on a daily basis throughout the day is so crucial and so important to draw and bring your relationship to God even closer. So connecting with nature, the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. So going outside, walking on the beach, walking in nature, listening to birds, sitting outside, spending time getting some sunshine, listening to waterfalls, going to the beach, things like that, these elements that God created on the earth also brings us joy, peace, calm, and satisfaction. People don't realize that going outside really does benefit your overall well-being. And like I said, God gave us the sun for us to get some sunshine. Going outside and spending time in nature is also very important. Professional self-care. People don't realize that the majority of your time in your daily life is spent on a job, 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. And so, how you incorporate professional self care is setting boundaries. Work life balance is so important. You can set personal boundaries at work, professional boundaries, improving your break time, taking a lunch, getting up and taking the 15-minute break that your employer offers you, not working through all of those valuable times, those moments away is so important for you to take your mind off things that really gravitate your attention to relieve some stress. We need to put some of those boundaries in place.
That's powerful.
Getting supervision, learning, taking advantage of continuing education, professional training, going to conferences, developing more skills, increasing your knowledge, becoming more of a subject matter expert on the work that you do will bring you more joy, peace, knowing that you have a skill set and that if you lean into the skills that God has given you on the job, can also bring you joy, peace, and happiness at work.
That's powerful. So becoming an expert at what you do, which makes you unique because you put in the work, that's powerful.
Absolutely.
Can I go back just for a second because I want to kind of tie a couple things in when you start talking about relational self-care. I just wanted to inject and pretty much elaborate on how oftentimes when we are trying to build our own individual selves, that we often allow people to come in and dump their trash into our cans, if you will, just for the sake of an analogy. And we allow people to bring toxicity into our lives when we ourselves is trying to deal with the stuff that we have to deal with. So be careful of how you allow people to come into your space who aren't bringing, to my wife's point, any value to that space and then in that time in your life. Because there is a time to where we are ministering to others, being available to others, and because of that, we are vulnerable to some of the things that they're struggling with. So you got to be real careful that you don't take home stuff that they've dumped into your life. And that segues into what she was just talking about as it relates to professional self-care and how those boundaries at work have to be set and established and not breached. Because too often we lower those standards, and then as a result, we're wondering why we're so overwhelmed and so frustrated. Don't take work home with you if it's not benefiting you. But to a point, if you're going to take it home with you, then take it home with you to develop a mastery of what it is that you're doing so you can become set apart from the rest of your colleagues. Powerful point. Thank you for sharing that.
And I do want to add to that, especially those individuals who are in the professional counselors, pastors, mental health workers, social workers, any helping professional field, there is a cost for caring for people.
Wow.
And that cost means, like you were saying, you get exposed to so many people's trauma, their, histories that impact you so much that our ethical standards require us professionally to engage in self-care, because we have to be whole and well in order to provide professional service to those who are wounded. So we have an ethical obligation to engage in self-care practices ourselves as professional helpers. And we're bound by ethics to make sure that if we need therapy, that we have our own personal therapy. If we need to, like I'm saying, engage in these types of strategies and skills so we are fully able to be present to the people that we serve, it is crucial that we engage in a lifestyle of self-care. Again, it's multidimensional. And sometimes we need to break away. We need to set those boundaries. We need to turn off the cell phone, the work cell phone. We need to stop taking phone calls when we get home. We need to stop responding to every emergency call. If you're not on rotation, we need to walk away from that. And it is important that as a professional counselors and therapists and mental health workers and substance abuse, that we are first partakers in our self-care practices, because we can't expect anyone else to engage in self-care and we don't ourselves. So it is important for everyone. Even, if you are a crisis worker, you're a teacher, you're a pharmacist or doctor, nurse, no matter what your profession, self-care is also applicable to you and your wellness.
And what I found, Dr. Lee, is that in my life, because of the way I grew up, pretty much, I'm not going to say poverty because I didn't feel like we were in poverty, but we had, some struggles growing up as kids. My mom was a domestic worker, so we experienced what it is to have lack, is what I'm trying to say. And then growing up and struggling with, paying bills and all of those things, when you get to the place where you're now in a position where you're actually helping people who are going through that, you have a tendency to empathize and to relate to that in such a way that you do more than is what's required, and as a result, you can find yourself being too engaged, and now not allowing those that you're helping to find their own way. In other words, you become an enabler, and so we don't want you to become an enabler because you're so attached to the situation. So set those boundaries, and make sure that those boundaries are sure and that they're not breached, because that would then cause you to become the one needing the help instead of the one who is trying to extend the help.
That's awesome. And a couple of things that I want to end with is having a supportive community. That is so important, because being in a supportive community, that allows you to receive comfort when you need comfort, support when you need support, and people that surround you that help with problem solving and bouncing ideas off and really having a great relationship. Having a supportive community is important. Now, I understand a lot of people that like to operate in independence. They like to do a lot of things on their own. That doesn't substitute for the need to engage in supportive community. And if you don't have a supportive community, find one, gravitate one, create one. A supportive community is something everyone needs because we fellowship with each other. You need, to hear someone's positive remarks, someone's comments, that could just bring a smile, a peace, and joy to a moment that if you remain isolated and by yourself, sometimes that could decrease your overall health and wellness. So engaging in a supportive community is so important. And my final point that I want to talk about is healing spaces. There are some spaces that really do bring peace and joy, and it regulates our emotions. And it, when we are regulated, then we're able to open our minds and hearts to receive wellness and positivity in our life. There's so many people who have so many negative experiences. They live in spaces, or their spaces in their environment is toxic, unhealthy, stressful. It causes burnout. And when you engage in unhealthy spaces for a prolonged period of time, it causes sickness, it causes disease, and it really impacts your overall mental health and wellness. So I encourage everyone to take a reflection on the spaces that you operate the most, the spaces that you spend the majority of the time should be healing spaces that support your wellness, it supports your health, it is, supports your emotional thoughts, your emotional responses. It just brings healing to your body. And I just want to leave that with you. Spaces that bring healing to you increase your lifespan, it improves your mental health and well-being, and it really increases your overall growth and development.
I like that. You know, that's the importance, to your point earlier about the spiritual and religious self-care, and how that we have to assemble with the saints, because I'm a firm believer that iron sharpens iron. And oftentimes people's engagement in church, or in the gathering, I should say, in the synagogue, or in the building of church, is oftentimes based on recovery. You know, they have been, in work all week long, and they come to church just to kind of get a release, and then they go right back into the grind. Where that ought not be. It should be where you're coming to gain strength and community, and to be guided by the Lord, because as God said in His Word, trust in Him with all of your heart, and lean not to your own understanding, but in all of your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. Right, Proverbs 3:5. And the beauty of that is that when we begin to give it to Him, right, and be led by Him, and as relates to what we do on a day-to-day basis, the stress is less. I heard someone else say the other day that I'm going to take a box and I'm going to put it in, let Jesus handle it box, and you put that in that box, seal it up, and don't take it out. And that's where you move on to the next thing, because oftentimes, to Dr. Lee's point, we're trying to take on so much to where we become overwhelmed. And then we go to God and say, Lord, take this off me, help me with this, help me with that. When He's saying, no, I've already asked you to take those burdens and give them to me in the first place, so that you don't have to worry about that. The key thing in all of what I just said is that to learn of Him in a meaningful way, where it's not just religious, but it's relational. Amen. It's personal. Right? We don't have to come here and beat you over the head about who God is, what God is, because every man knows Him. We all are without excuse, because the earth declares His glory. And because it does, we need to see Him in every single thing, every relational interaction, every single thing. We need to know Him. So anyway, we are running out of time, but I just want to thank Dr. Lee for coming on. This has been a beautiful show. I pray that, you come back and join me again at some point. Amen. But I want to open an invitation. I'm going to extend an invitation to all of you who want to be a part of this show, to reach out to me at apostlegarylee@gmail.com. That's APOSTLEGARYLEE@gmail.com. And let me know if you want to come on, if you have a story to tell, if you've overcome addiction, if you've overcome any mental health issues. I would love to hear from you, have you on the show, that we can talk and dialogue about it. So others can share in your victory, because the Bible is clear. There's two ways that we can overcome. One is by the blood of the Lamb, and what Christ did on the cross at Calvary, and by the word of our testimony. It's our testimonies that's going to help somebody else come out of darkness into His marvelous light. So thank you for joining us. You're listening to us on Awesome Radio networks, all of the social media platforms. You can go check us out. Miss Akila Thigpen is doing an amazing job in getting this dialogue out and this information out on so many different shows and platforms. And also at 107.5 FM here in Greenville, Winterville. As someone the other day said, I didn't know where to listen to the show. So if you're listening now, it's 107.5 FM. All right. I know a lot of people listen to radio anymore, but there's a lot of people who've been calling me and telling me they're listening. So I thank all of you for engaging in this show. Lastly, I want to ask Dr. Lee, if one word, what can you share with our audience that they should do today to help them in their self-care?
Find something to enjoy to do today that is going to increase your relaxation, that's going to bring you calm and peace into your life. Doesn't cost money, it's free. Just engage intentionally in something that's going to bring you joy.
Be intentional, okay? Be intentional, make it count. When you get up out of your bed today, or if you're already out and about, find something good that you enjoy doing. I heard her say something about healing spaces, right? Don't be isolated. Don't get so angry and caught up that you don't want to be around people because they get you upset. That tells me more about what you're going through than what they're doing to you. Amen. You have to learn how to go in, stir up the murky waters of your heart, and get all of that stuff out so that he can come in and dwell there. Because God said, I will not dwell in an unclean temple. So clean that heart out so he can come in and live in there and be there with you. Amen. And then I guarantee you, your days will be a lot more joyful than they are woeful. Amen. So I thank you for joining us. You're listening to Apostle Gary Lee here at Mental Health and Substance Use Addiction. What is your conviction? I pray you join us again next week at 10 a.m. We love you. We thank you. Now may the peace of God that passes all understanding rest, rule, and abide with you forever, and for now and forevermore. We're out. Love you, baby. Thank you.
Hello, this is Cheryl Davis. Thank you for listening to the Awesome